Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to this reading vlog. So, you've seen by the title that I am going to be reading books recommended by my library. So I was scrolling through the Libby app last night, which if you don't know, Libby is basically an app where you can put your library card in and then you can have access to free ebooks and audiobooks through your library. It's great. I really love it, actually. Anyway, I was scrolling through the Libby app and I saw that they had a section that was called like can't stop reading unputdownable books, which unputdownable is a weird phrase that I didn't think was a thing, but apparently it's a thing. Anyway, so I was scrolling through that and I was like, what if I read a few books from this section and see if my library can be trusted and see if these books are actually unputdownable or not. So I picked 3 books. I wrote them down. Hold on. Or I guess I can just look in my Libby app. So, okay, the 3 books that I chose. The first one is The Dressmakers of Auschwitz by Lucy Adlington, and it is about some of the Jewish women and girls who were in the concentration camp at Auschwitz. Auschwitz? How do you say it? Anyway. And they were chosen to be seamstresses for the Nazis' wives, and they make their dresses and stuff. And it's a nonfiction. The next book that I picked is Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. I have heard a lot about this book, and I've heard that it's really good, so I decided to check that one out. And for the first time, I'm going to try and listen to it as an audiobook. I kind of struggle with audiobooks because most of the time I just would rather read it, but I started listening to it this morning and so far I'm liking it, and I think her narration is good. So I think it's read by her, pretty sure. So and it's a nonfiction about how she used food to connect with her mother, and it's about her mother passed away from cancer a few years ago, and so how she uses food to try and keep that connection with her mother alive, and basically how she used food growing up and stuff. And it's really interesting so far, and I like the conversation about food, how food is used to bring a family together. And then the last book that I picked is Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins, and it is And Then There Were None retelling by Agatha Christie. I read And Then There Were None a long time ago, and I've seen the play a few times, but it's been quite a few years since I actually read that book, so it'll be interesting. I did start reading that one this morning. So far it's okay. Basically, we're like following this girl who moved to Hawaii with this guy, and they were gonna like sail around the world, but then because she was like in San Diego, he sailed from San Diego to Hawaii, and like on the way there his ship got had problems with the engine, and then got like a hole in the hull of the ship, and so they haven't left Hawaii in like a year because he has to save up money to fix it. And then these 2 girls approach him and ask him to charter them to a nearby island, and then they invite the girlfriend to go with them, and they're gonna pay them like $50,000, and so they were like discussing about if they should go, and that's kind of where I'm at in the book. I think I'm only, let's see what percentage of the way through I am. I'm only 11% through, and I'm 8% into Crying in H Mart, and I haven't started The Dressmakers of Auschwitz yet. So yeah, I don't know how long it's going to take me to read each of these books, but I will just check in with you periodically and tell you kind of like what my thoughts are as I'm reading them. And hopefully they are unputdownable, which is just still a weird phrase. But anyway, I will check in with you when I have read further. Bye. Hello. I thought I would check in. It is quite a bit later in the day now. I took a hefty nap, which was nice. But I listened to some more of Crying in H Mart and read some more of Reckless Girls. Let's start with Reckless Girls, because I just barely put that down to make the potato that you can probably hear that's in the microwave. I like it so far. I'm definitely intrigued. You're kind of getting some hints about the girls that asked them to take them out on the boat, and like you can, like, something bad has happened to them but you don't know what. So that's very interesting, and I'm interested to learn what that is. The only thing that I don't like is that it swears a ton, and it's just kind of like unnecessary. Like, I don't understand why it's swearing so much. It's not my fave, because I'm just like, this seems, it just seems like just unnecessary. There's just not a reason to it, you know what I mean? Sometimes there's like a reason for swearing, there's not even a reason for swearing, it's just there. So that's like the one thing that I'm like, I don't really like that. Then about Crying in H Mart, I am really enjoying it so far. Her story is a lot sadder than I thought it would be. A lot of people told me that, or not told me specifically, but I watched reviews, and people saying that it was pretty sad and it made them cry differently at the end, so that will be interesting to see. But yeah, she kind of had a rough teenage years, and so that's just kind of interesting to learn about. But I really like the way that it's written, and I like the idea of how food is what connects her to her mom and to her Korean culture. And I'm learning more about Korean culture because I don't know that much about it, to be honest. So that's cool to learn. Also, I'm just now realizing that the lights are doing that weird thing because the lights are on in here because it's pretty dark and gloomy outside. It stopped snowing. I don't know if I said that it was snowing earlier in this video, but it was snowing earlier. It stopped snowing, but it's just kind of gloomy now, which is why I made it a great day for a nap. But anyway, I'm going to eat my lunch now that it's 3 p.m. and keep reading. Oh, as far as my ratings of unputdownableness, I would say both of them, I'll give them a thumbs up for unputdownableness so far. But I'm also like less than 20% through both of them. So we'll see if that changes as we get deeper and deeper into the book, or if it keeps going up on the unputdownable scale. I don't know. I'll let you know. Hello. It is the next day. I finished Reckless Girls, and I just barely finished Crying in H Mart. Let's talk about Crying in H Mart first, because I liked that one more. I gave Crying in H Mart 5 stars, and I was crying in my apartment while reading it, or listening to it, because it was just such a raw emotional story, and it was so interesting to hear about Michelle Zauner's grief and how it presented itself, and how she had to confront her mom having cancer and taking care of her, you know, up until the end of her life, and then how her life has been after her mother's death as well, and reconnecting with her Korean culture and trying to feel close to her mom through her Korean culture. And I just thought it was so beautiful, and I'm really glad that I listened to it. I usually don't listen to audiobooks because I have a hard time with them, and I have been wanting to try more, and I'm glad that I did with this book because it was really great. And Michelle Zauner is the one who what's that word? narrated it. And so it was really beautiful to hear her story from her. So yeah, I highly recommend it. And usually I'm not like a memoir type of person. Like I don't really read memoirs. I had no idea who Michelle Zauner was before reading this, but I am glad that I did, and I can definitely see why it got so popular and why people have been raving about it, because it is really a beautiful book. And then as far as unputdownability for this challenge that I'm doing, it definitely was unputdownable. I basically have just sat and listened to it for the past 2 days, and listened to it while I'm doing basically anything. And so yeah, definitely was unputdownable. So I'll give that a 5 stars on the unputdownable scale. Okay, now talk about Reckless Girls. I didn't like it. Okay, so I am giving Reckless Girls 2 stars. I thought, let's see, I'm trying to think about like how I can review this for you without giving you tons of spoilers. I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the big scheme that happens. Okay, so how do I explain this without doing tons of spoilers? Okay, the motivations behind a lot of what happens in this book is because some characters blame other rich characters for their problems. And they say because those people have privilege and have money, it's their fault that I have had these trials. And I don't agree with that. Obviously, people who are wealthy have certain privileges and don't have to go through certain trials and certain hardships and can get away with things. But that does not mean that it's the wealthy people's fault if you have something go wrong in your life. And I'm a big fan of taking accountability for your own life and for your own actions. And obviously there are a lot of things that happen in our lives that are out of our control that we don't get to choose. But you are still accountable for your life. You're still in charge of your life, even if there's things that are out of your control. Like, for example, I have an autoimmune disease. That is out of my control. I am still accountable for myself. I am still responsible for making my life a good life, and I have a great life, and I love my life. And this thing that's out of my control doesn't determine how my life goes. And so I just kind of didn't love that. Didn't love that that was their motivation, because I'm like, okay, yeah, those people have done some bad things. They have much more than you have, but that doesn't mean it's okay to murder them. It's never okay to murder. Anyway, yeah, so I just didn't like it. I also thought that the swearing in it was just so unnecessary, and there was just unnecessary, like, sexual relationships as well. I'll be vague about this. There is cheating that happens, and the person who is cheated on immediately goes and cheats with somebody else who was in a relationship because she deserves it because she was cheated on, and that's just ridiculous. If you're sitting there feeling sorry for yourself because you got cheated on, why would you immediately assume that you deserve to have a sexual experience with someone else who is in a relationship and put their partner through the same exact thing that you're going through? I mean, I don't think that you have to like a main character to enjoy a book. I don't think you have to agree with the main character to enjoy a book. But this book was just annoying. Honestly. The choices that were made annoyed me. I was like, this is stupid. And besides just the plot, not enjoying it, the pacing was really weird. it basically nothing happened until the last maybe 100 pages, and then it all happened at once, and it was really convoluted, and the pacing needed some work. So yeah, that's why I gave that a 2 stars. It was disappointing. However, it was unputdownable, mostly because I was like, I just need to get to the end of this book to see if anything, you know, if there's any redeemable qualities, and there really wasn't. Besides the fact that I guess it was unputdownable. So if we're trying to answer the question of can my library be trusted, I think it's still yes, because I still didn't want to put the book down because I wanted to finish it, but it wasn't necessarily for positive reasons. So I don't know, what do you think? Tell me if you think that that means that my library can be trusted, or if that means that my library can't be trusted because I didn't enjoy the book. So yeah, I just have the last book, wait, what's it called? Seamstress? Hold on, what is it? Let me pull it up. Oh, The Dressmakers of Auschwitz. The True Story of Women Who Sewed to Survive is the full title. I am 3% into this. I'm just like right at the very beginning. I'm 16 pages in. So, and I started reading it during my daughter's like 2 a.m. feed. So I'm not really sure that I've gotten much out of it yet because I was reading it in the middle of the night. So I'll dive into that now that it's not 2 a.m. And I will check back in with you later. My goal is to kind of check in halfway through these books, but I guess it's a good sign of the unputdownableness that I just wanted to keep reading and then got distracted and didn't check in. So take that as you will. Yeah, that's all I have to say for today. I'll see you later when I've read more. Hi, it's been a fat minute since I talked to you last. I have a bit of an update with my reading. I DNF'd The Dressmakers of Auschwitz. I know. So here's what happened. I randomly started having seizures. We don't know why. I went through a bunch of testing, saw a bunch of doctors. They were non-epileptic. They started and were very intense for about a week, and then they just stopped. And yeah, I have no idea why. The doctors don't really know. They think it might be because I just had like a lot of vitamin depletion from having my daughter Penelope. So yeah. So I wasn't really reading during that time. But the reason that I decided to not keep trying to read that book is because honestly, I was pretty bored. I found it kind of boring, which I am sad about because I did a lot of costume making in high school. I was in theater and I was in costuming, and I really love sewing, and so I thought that that would be very interesting to learn about these, you know, these Jewish women and how they did their work, and you know, the textile usage and stuff like that. And it was kind of interesting, but just not enough for me to read it. And I feel like it's the type of book, it definitely is more suited to read physically than on ebook, because there's lots of photos, but I couldn't like zoom in on the pictures, so I couldn't really see what the book was talking about in the photos. Yeah, and I don't think that it's really necessarily one that's suited to read, like you just sit down and read the whole thing. I did only get about 15% of the way through, so you know, it could have gotten a lot more interesting, and I just don't know, but yeah. So I'm not going to rate it or anything because I didn't finish it. So yeah, that's kind of a disappointing end to this video, but what do you do? So the question, can my library be trusted? I think that my library is a little shady, but like mostly trustworthy, because I really liked, oh my gosh, what is that book even called? Crying in H Mart. Wow. I really enjoyed Crying in H Mart. Reckless Girls I didn't like, but I didn't want to put it down because I wanted to finish it and I wanted to know what happened. but I didn't end up liking it, and the dressmakers of Auschwitz I did want to put down, and I had a really hard time picking it back up. So as far as being unputdownable, it was very putdownable. I had to force myself to pick it back up, and then I was like, why am I forcing myself to read this book? I don't need to, you know, like I don't have to force myself. I don't have to read this. So, yeah. Can my library be trusted? The jury's still out on that one. We may never know. Maybe we will know. If you want to see a part 2 of this video, let me know down in the comments below. And my daughter has a lot to say right now. I would love to do another video like this where I want to know if you can be trusted, my subscribers. So if you would like to participate in that, please leave some recommendations in the comments, subscribe to this channel, and then I can make that video for you, and I think it would be a lot of fun. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like it, subscribe for more like this, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!